Welcome to the Spent the Rent podcast. I am your host, Patty Rose. My guest today, back for the third time, is a dear friend of the podcast, local Eugene, Oregon hip-hop artist, Endr Won. Endr, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you, man. I appreciate you, bro. It's good to see you, man. This looks crazy in here. Look at you, man.
This is wild. You were my first ever guest.
Was I?
Yeah, first ever. Episode 1. That's why, and I talked to you on the phone for like an hour, and you're like, dude, I got to go to bed the night before because I was so I was so amped about the new platform, so awesome. The new setup, how I was going to do this. And thank you so much, by the way, for the leap of faith, because I did not know what I was doing.
Buddy, come on, man.
Yeah.
It's how it goes, man. Locals got to support locals. It's how it is, man.
Right. So
Eugene, Oregon's in the building.
This is cool that we can actually do this back in the studio. We've been starting to do these podcasts in person here and there.
And I promise I'm listening. I'm just tapping in so I can
sharing the reach.
Shout out and share people that can get people in here. I just posted on the STRPOD.com, right?
That's right. That's the website, STRPOD.com for the Spent the Rent podcast.
If you're watching this, share it somewhere. And we'll see if we can get some people in here.
Yeah.
Because can't they post questions too?
They can post questions. So we'll play some of those at the end if we get some. So so we're here to talk about your new album. The album is called The Last Few Years. I got it right here. There's CDs available on your website and anywhere you.
The physical copies actually aren't up.
Are they just
yet.
Okay?
Aren't
so
up
that's
yet because I'm planning to do maybe some like special packages, some merch packages. But yeah, the album is officially streaming as of yesterday everywhere. So,
yeah. I had to change the flyer because I dropped the flyer announcement for this show Thursday, and it said out on 8/19, and then today I changed it and updated it to out now.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, updating all that stuff is a pain in the neck.
Yeah. And so I mean, we're going to talk a lot about the album. It's a collection. This is a big one. This is a collection of songs that had previously been released as singles over the last few years, hence the title.
Plus some new,
and then a few new tracks to come together as a collection. Let's talk about the creative process and how this is a little bit different this time around.
Yeah. So obviously the last few years were crazy, right? Like everybody went through such insanity in these last couple of years. And first off, look at my kiddo in the background.
I know. So Shout out to Oakland. He's in the studio with us. It's amazing.
Live on TV. Oakland, can you wave? You say hi? He's extremely focused right now. And but no, when it comes down to the last couple of years, and with this album in particular, I wanted to do something that was kind of like, that was just kind of like recognizing and acknowledging kind of some of the insanity that we all went through and experienced. But at the same time, I wanted to make sure that I give my fans that have rocked with me for a while new music too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so combining the two, because obviously there's a good amount of people out there that have no idea who I am. And so I wanted to make sure to take a good amount of like the solid songs over the last couple of years that I felt like really kind of expressed, through the timeline of kind of 2020 to now, and add some of this new content I've been working on as well. And it was definitely a collection effort in my head where I knew what I wanted to do. He's climbing over here. Let's go. Yeah,
and I mean, originally when I wrote up the questioning and whatnot for this, I had said that this may be your most personal album. And I don't even know if that's true because it's kind of your brand that you really put it out there. Like on what album was it that the song Use It was on?
Cry Now, Smile.
And that is probably the most personal track,
sure.
And it's incredible, by the way. If you haven't listened to the song Use It by Endr Won,
thank you, man.
But and a much needed and rare topic. That's all I'm going to get into today.
Right.
We talked about it last time.
Right.
But then, you're always real personal and vulnerable and you put yourself out there. And I just think it's incredible. And so
I just want to interject. It's like, it's an honor to even like have that acknowledged because for years I was the opposite.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so when it comes down to like really through my sobriety and my recovery, that's what finally allowed me to say, F it. I'm gonna censor myself for a little one.
Sure.
But, that I am no longer gonna hold back on some of these things that I know could possibly help the next person.
Yeah.
The people in my life that helped me in my life, if they were reserved about the shit that they've been through, about the stuff that they've been through, then I would have never got to learn that wisdom and grow emotionally, spiritually, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Personally, all those type of things. And so when it comes down to my music, I don't have any holdbacks anymore.
No.
On a personal level and a music level. I just, and it's funny because once I did that, once I eliminated that, that's when things started to grow. That's when my fan base started to grow. That's when people started noticing, you know, in the industry a little bit more about what I was doing. And to be honest, my creative side, my music side, the content, the quality, all of that increased. And so it was just, I think it was just a matter of, I really had to learn to get honest with myself, you know, and be okay with being me. And that's still a process. It's not like I've arrived, right? It's like it's still a process. But that's a good place to be, you know, so that I can be transparent, hopefully for the next person, you know, that's listening. And that's it, man.
It can make a huge impact. And like you said, it can actually be a therapeutic process for yourself. I talk about that a lot, about making music. I have a different approach than you. You know, this is a career, you know, this is something that you are full, you know, head of steam into. I do it as a hobby and an outlet, which is great. And I think anybody out there that wants to just, you know, Joey Helpish, we talk about this a lot on the podcast. His slogan is make something terrible today. Just make music, you know?
Do something.
And so for people that are like intimidated, they're like, I don't want to go career with it. Actually. You know, well, no, but no, it's fine. Like there's no wrong way to do it, is what I'm saying. Yep. You know, like you take your stuff super serious, and I think that's admirable. And then for the people that want to just have fun, that's admirable.
Do that too. Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So either way you want to approach it.
I agree.
You know, there's a polished thing when you're a musician, though, that when you want to take it serious, you got to take it serious. You got to be calculated and think about things. And I think that with the last 3 projects, 4, whatever it is, you've improved on every single one, man, you know, and that's what's really cool. You know, I'm not going to get into politics, but my show a lot of times is political. And I hate that COVID became political,
right?
But your song about it, it was, there's a song, there's a two track series, Tired.
Yeah.
It really hits it on the head universally, because it talks about how just tired and frustrated people are. So you can really sense the frustration in that one.
Yeah. I appreciate you noticing that. And yeah, you're right. That's almost what those songs were about, right? We're like, really coming at what we've all been through objectively, right? From a bird's eye view of just myself, my experiences, and feeling that exhaustion, right? And not taking because this is what sucks, right? In our world today is like, there's so much judgments and so much hate based on, if you don't agree with my opinion, then all of a sudden you're a terrible person, right? You're this and you're that, versus understanding that we're all coming at life from different perspectives, and that's okay. But we all also, I think, have some common denominators through these last years, that there were a lot of question marks, man. There still is, you know what I mean? And it was a crazy time as a parent. You know what I mean? Like to parent your kids through quarantine and have to explain why we're wearing masks and all this other stuff. It was a big thing. And so I felt like I couldn't have an album called The Last Few Years,
right,
in arguably what has been the most insane, you know what I'm saying?
Confusing,
overwhelmingly crazy couple years, and a moment that we all will reflect on, you know what I'm saying? And I don't think we even have a close to an idea either about how these little ones are affected.
Oh no.
You know, until about 10, 20 years from now, you know, will we be able to see, you know, kind of long-term, like what is going on. And I think only then we'll probably even begin to see kind of some of the truth behind some of this stuff too. So who knows?
I think one of the biggest things when it comes to politics and COVID and all that, I think it's just that people want the quick response to stuff. They want stuff to be resolved immediately,
easy answer,
instant gratification. And that's not how things work. That's not how empathy works. When you have to learn,
that's the key word.
Empathy, to embrace somebody you might disagree with. So I mean, everybody that's listening to this podcast, listen to the album by Endr Won, The Last Few Years, because you know, it may challenge you on the track about, there's the track Tired, and then there's part 2. You know, I know that with the video, the first time I watched it, I'm going to be honest. I was like, and hear me out with this.
No, you're good.
So I rolled my eyes, the part about grandma, I'm like, duh. And then I thought about it and I caught myself, and then I learned from it.
See, that's cool.
You know, because I was like, because I wanted the narrative to be a certain way. I'll be the first to admit this, you know, because I knew that it was the shortcut, and it's not that easy for everybody. And so I was like, and I caught myself, and you could see my evolution of the way that I've approached COVID since the beginning and all that stuff.
But to me, that's a reflection too of how emotionally mature you have to be. And that's why you get all the credit in the world, is because, you know, people think it's really funny when they see me in public with some of my friends, because I have friends that are like 65, 70 years old.
Oh, me too.
And then I have friends that are like 18, 19, right? And all over the spectrum, whether it be politically or from the streets or like whatever.
From the rodeo.
And people think it's yeah, exactly. From the rodeo. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And people think it's crazy that like, how could you possibly connect with somebody like this? And how could you do this? And you just nailed it on the head a minute ago with that word, empathy.
Yeah.
Is understanding that like the thing that makes us all individuals, and the thing that makes us all beautiful, you know, in our own right, in my opinion, is the fact that we are all different and that we can voice these things. And it is possible to sit and hear a song and not like it, and not have to like, yo, Endr, this is terrible. You know, say those type of things.
Sure.
Like, hey, that's okay. I'm not naive to music or anything that I put out and expecting everybody to fall in love with everything that I do. But also at the same token, when I see something that I don't like, that's okay.
Yeah.
Like,
and
that's okay.
I mean, anything in art that challenges you is a good thing. And we, you know, we could be here for days. I said we, you know, but I just think, I thought it was important to touch on that I found myself being like, oh man, like I've thought about that song over and over again, different ways. Like I was going to play it, and at one point I'm like, nah, I'm not gonna. And then I was like, you know what? I actually really love it. Like
I appreciate
it took me a minute, you know? And I think it's really cool that I mean, for one, when you put yourself out there, like I had said, that's amazing, because you're going to say things that it just, everyone
you're
that
not
listens,
going to get everybody, you know what I'm saying?
No.
Like, and here's the deal is like with a song like that, and with really all my songs, I used to, like in my early 20s, when I was just rapping, you know, to rap, just doing it to be cool, just doing it because it was fun, just doing it as a hobby, and never really considering it a career, never doing any of those type of things, and really never being, like I said earlier, honest and transparent in my music. When I was doing that, I would never touch on anything real. And so hip hop is easy at that point. Music is easy when you're not touching on anything real. But as a parent, through the last couple of years, and just having the questions that I had, we raise kids to ask questions. And then I think it's kind of sad that at some point we persecute adults, grown-ups, for asking questions, you know, and that doesn't mean you're a bad person. That doesn't mean you're a conspiracy theorist. That doesn't mean you're crazy. That doesn't mean you're whatever. It just means, hey man, we live in a crazy world, and I refuse to just like nod my head to the politicians that are on our TV. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And like, okay, yeah, this guy.
I just don't like definitive.
This guy has my best interest in. Yeah,
and sure. I just don't like definitive answers. You know, that's the thing. It's
bingo.
Like if we have a definitive answer to things, then you're probably wrong.
Right.
You know, but. So let's move on. I want to talk about the track, and we're going to talk about this ad nauseum, but the track This Much has been years in the making. It's a tribute to your son, Oakland. The song encompasses what it means for you to be a father. Even there's a subtle cameo from Oakland himself.
Yeah, he's in it.
And so we're going to, on the video stream, unfortunately, I won't be able to play the song, but at the end of this, on the audio stream, I will. But we'll tell you at the end of this episode where you can find it, and obviously Spotify and Apple Music. Yeah. And in the show notes, you know, there's a link to the Linktree where there's everywhere you can find it. So tell me about that song. I mean, this has got to be a difficult one. When did you start writing it?
Literally, yeah, this song, man. I wrote this song. I started writing it when he was born.
Yeah.
I started writing when he was born. And my brother Joey Kaufman, my producer, one of my closest friends in the world, he sent me the beat. And I was just sitting on it, and sitting on this chorus is what I came up with first. But, you know, the reason why it took so long is like, how do you write a song for your kid? How do you write a song about that? And any parents will understand this too. Like, there's something that you can't describe. What happened? What?
I messed up on something on the audio. It's good. Go.
Oh, it's all good. But, you know, like, how do you possibly put words to like the one thing in this world that is easily the craziest thing, which is childbirth and being a parent, you know what I'm saying? And having that. And I had a hard time with it. You know what I mean? I had a hard time putting those words together, and I knew it had to be right. And yeah, man, it was piece by piece, basically, when it comes down to the lines. And I had different, you know, bars that I wanted to put in it, and I'd come up with a good bar, but it didn't have the placement, and I'd go back and forth in my own head, and honestly just put a lot of kind of pressure on myself, man, about it had to be right, it had to be this, it had to be that. But ultimately, when it comes down to like parenting in general, right, like no such thing as perfect, no such thing as a perfect song, no such thing as a perfect anything. And Oakland, actually, he's heard the beat so many times that he literally like I don't know, 6 months ago, he's finally like, Daddy, are you going to finish my song? He's like, when are you going to finish my song? And I was like, I know, buddy, I know. And that really kind of, that just registered in me. And so I started getting back to the pen and the pad with it, and sat down with it, and really just tried my best to trust my pen, and trust my writing, and trust my expression. Because sometimes I have like this weird, crazy fear of like, I can't, like all of a sudden I'm gonna sit down to write a verse or something like that, and it's gonna be gone. Like my talent is gonna be gone. I'm not gonna be able to like do this anymore. It's just gonna be like like I'm just gonna get writer's block for the rest of my life. Like it's a weird fear, but I sat down and I trusted my pen, and in 3 months I had the bulk of the song, the second verse completely done and finished, and then the ending part I really wanted to wrap up and make special and try to get him, and it took some convincing to get my little man on the mic, but he killed it. He killed it.
No, it was good.
Did his thing, man. And it's one of those songs. I'm working on the video right now. We'll probably put out a video for it in the next couple of weeks.
Nice.
And, yeah, man, it's powerful, you know, and any parent, anybody that has a son or a daughter is yeah, that one's going to be for them.
Yeah. Sure. I mean, and it's obvious how much that song means to you. It means like this much.
Exactly. That and and I love that concept, right? It's like, I love you this much.
Right.
And yeah, there's so many little things that, you know, there's a line in it where I talk about, you know, when I drop them off at preschool and I act like I got something in my pocket, and I pull that out to fake like I'm blowing a kiss and there's nothing there, and he says, caught it. Like there's a line like that. And that's like real stuff that we do, you know, we still do, we still play it. And it's pretty,
it's a good one.
Cool.
So we'll play that at the end for the audio listeners. And like I said, for the video, you know, we can't because of copyright, but we'll get into that.
Sorry guys.
So now let's talk about some of the features. I mean, this is some heavy hitters on this album. You got Apathy, Self-Titled, Locksmith, Mercules. I mean, these are some cream of the crop hip hop artists and underground hip hop.
Yeah.
Talk about what that means to be working with MCs that you admire deeply.
Crazy. Yeah. Doesn't even feel real. You know what I mean? Insane. You know, like I made a post yesterday. Are you okay, Bo? Come sit down. I made a post yesterday that talked a little bit about how, like, if you would have told me when I was 15 years old that there'd be a day when I do an album like this or something like that, I wouldn't have believed you. Hands off, please. Hands off, please. And yeah, dad life. That's how it goes. And so to be able to work with these guys and create these songs and communicate with these gentlemen, these are guys that I look up to musically and respect. And so to be able to, you know, in some form, in some fashion, right, be able to share the same stage, right?
Yeah.
And be able to do that. It's more than just like, you know, because we live in a culture, obviously, nowadays where everything is money driven. If you got enough bread, you can reach out to somebody, you know what I'm saying? And maybe you can do a song no matter how much of a garbage rapper you are. Well, these are all cats that I've known and I've done shows with, you know what I'm saying? And we have mutual connections, and that is like an honor. That's like crazy to me, right? To think that like my music, for whatever reason, has at least reached a point where my peers are the guys that I used to listen to, which is crazy. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, I'm just humbled, to be honest. The fact that they were willing to work with me and put these verses in. My boy Apathy and Self-Titled. And
oh my gosh, Self-Titled.
They just all killed it.
Self-Titled. I thought he was gonna jump through those speakers and kick me in the face.
No, yeah,
that
for
dude
sure.
is tough.
Yeah, Ghost Town. I think it's track 8. Yeah, my guy Self. And he's one of the best dudes I know, and one of the best punchline rappers that I've been listening to for years. And so being able to like get that track, and that was the last feature track that I got done. We got it done, I think, like a month or 2 ago.
So now a lot of people that don't make music may not understand that sometimes you're together in the studio, sometimes you're not. Were all of these in person?
No.
See, that's the crazy thing about. And I don't know. I mean, these are the behind the scenes secrets, but I think it's an awesome thing. I think Postal Service, which is an indie band, made it popular first, where they were sending the MIDI disc stuff through the mail.
Oh yeah,
and then compiling it because they were living across country. So, but
people hear a song and they naturally think. I remember growing up, you naturally thought that like Notorious B.I.G. and Bone Thugs, they were in the same studio and they recorded that. And you just never know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like where these guys were at the time, and they absolutely could be on opposite sides of the world. But that's also the beauty of music and technology nowadays. You know, like when I was first starting to make music, you had to have like a crazy expensive studio to go to, or you weren't going to record. You had to have a nice chunk of change. You weren't going to do it. And if you did do it, you know, you had like the makeshift studio, you know, and I joked around about it yesterday with like, you know, duct tape blankets on the wall and like, you know what I'm saying? Like doing whatever you could do. And in this situation, yeah, like the majority of these songs I actually recorded myself at my house.
Yeah,
in my home studio,
which is rad. I mean, you know, it's funny because you come into my studio for the podcast, you're like, man, this is so improved. This is still very amateur, you know, like the setup is still. Though, I mean, it's coming together. You know, if you got a Shure SM7B in your studio, you're doing something right. Is what it is. But and speaking of, if you'd like to donate to the podcast, because it's an expensive thing. Go to strpod.com and you can sponsor there.
Absolutely.
You know. Let's talk about live shows, and then we're gonna change gears. So, you know, you had your record release show, which was insane. It was at the Big Dirty in downtown Eugene, Oregon. Your album release, this was like last week or the week before.
Yeah, last Friday.
It was insane. There was people crawling off the walls. I mean, there was people everywhere. And like you said, it was such an eclectic group of people. Yeah. And crazy. I mean, everybody smiles on their face. You know, some of the people that I was able to catch up with that I hadn't seen, like Jesse Jory, shout out to Jesse. People like that. I mean, that's just one example, guy, you know, and that it was a lot of people that were sober because of the recovery community.
I had some sober sect in the building. We call them the sober sect.
The venue owner is like, can you just bring more alcoholics? We want to sell more drinks.
There was that share though. There was some good people in there. I seen, you know, one of my boys got tossed out. You know, it happens.
That's the beauty of charging a cover though, and it was an affordable show
for sure,
you know. But then the venue, everybody makes money, you know, and is able to do that thing. But yeah, I mean, you're gonna, with your lyrics, anyone that books you just gonna know that you're gonna have this kind of hybrid. But it was so fluid, where you had people that were having fun responsibly, and then you had people that you know, don't indulge because they can't, you know, because they have found that, and I'm one of those, you know, that I just sat there and vaped the whole time.
Yeah, man, the show, Eugene, Oregon is my city, man. This is the city that really raised me. You know, I'm a transplant, you know, from California to up here, but really through my depths of I call it my maturity or my growing, you know what I mean? It was from up here. I've been up here since I was like 15, 14. And so to see my own city come behind what I do and believe in me is something I don't take for granted. So every show that I have in town locally is something absolutely that I respect, man. And yeah, to see the crowd was pretty cool, you know, because you have this, all my shows are pretty funny, man, because you have this common, like, I don't know, or I guess it's uncommon, right? Is you have this blend of like people that are absolutely straight edge, right, and are with me on that sobriety tip. Then you have like the opposite, like the completely like just off the hook. But what I love about that, and I pray that every fan listening and that knows me knows this, is that there is zero effing judgment on that, because like I genuinely, in the back of my head, I look at sometimes the cats that are partying out there dancing like nobody's looking. I wish I could do that.
Yeah.
I wish that was me. And so why, like, and also like, here's the facts: for any addict and alcoholic that ever tries to judge another addict and alcoholic, you're forgetting about your own past. You're forgetting about who you are.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that is like zero. Like I've wet the bed more times than my son. So how am I ever going to judge someone? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are we talking about here?
I mean, when your first year of sobriety is super challenging, but then, you know, you get to a point, like people, I would run into friends of mine and they're like kind of embarrassed. They're like, oh my God, I'm kind of drunk. And I'm like, you have to understand, I am just happy that I'm out of the house, because it takes a lot it takes a lot for me to go out. And like, I'm like, you get to have your fun. I'm having my fun.
Right.
So it's like, you know, it's difficult when you don't get invited to stuff early on in your sobriety, because people are like, I don't want to be a trigger. And it's like, that's a whole different thing. But maybe we'll talk about that in a minute. We got a comment that I want to
thank you for coming, by the way, to that show, man.
That was cool. When I saw
awesome. You, I was like, oh my God, man.
We got a comment that I want to read, and then I want to talk a little more about Eugene. Sure. Thomas Gradient gave a shout out on YouTube. It says, much love to two amazing gentlemen. I love the compliments. Shout out to Thomas. And he also made a joke when I was talking about sell more drinks, and that's, the bar does want you to buy drinks. That's a fact.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, I want to say this about Eugene. You were talking about Eugene and how you were a transplant, even though this is home at this point.
Oh yeah.
And this just came to my head. I wonder if Eugene saved your life, because here's my thought process on this. Because did you grow up in Oakland?
So no, I never grew up in Oakland, and but here's the deal: Eugene saved my life.
Well, and I've got a reason for that. I want to say, but what part of California?
Southern California. But what I'll say is this: is Eugene at one point I thought was going to be the death of me. I literally thought it was going to be the death of me. You know what I'm saying? I was sleeping under Washington Jefferson Bridge. You know what I'm saying? I'm robbing fools with a broken 22. I'm on the streets, with my boy Big Jesse. Shout out to my boy Big Jesse, amongst others, and just doing what I can to survive. And like I said earlier about not being transparent with who I was a cocoon of myself. There's no way I felt at any level like I was able to be myself, and so I was trying to chameleon with whatever I could. Any group of people that I was with, I'd chameleon. Let me try and fit in. So afraid of being myself. And so now at this point, I would agree with you. Yeah. Back then, if you were to ask me, I'd say this town's going to be the death of me. I'm in
our early 20s, it was hairy for sure. Street culture, graffiti, all that kind of stuff, and but then, I think about Eugene and what it's done for me. I mean, just the terms we didn't have back in the day, toxic masculinity, things like that, where there's it's important in hip hop to have an exterior, that's part of the brand. But that being said, with your art, what makes you so different is, like we had talked about before, your vulnerabilities. Eugene embraces that. It kind of pushes it. It used to be. We've got some other issues that we won't get into now about people being like, don't say this, don't say that. And that's right. That limits your freedom and your expression.
Facts.
But that being said, there is this celebration of weirdness, celebration of just kind of oddity and individualism.
Right.
That is something that
is true.
It's ingrained in our soul.
That is true.
And I think that's true. I work on campus and I meet people every day that are from Southern California. Right. And let's just be honest, the culture has changed. I like to think that it's pop punk music that in the 90s that had a lot to do with that, because it's like, just be a dork.
Right.
Bands like Green Day and Blink-182.
Yeah.
And
I was on that Pennywise and
and
No Effects,
that punk, it's like
Green Day, Dookie. I'll mess with Dookie for
sure. It's just about being yourself and self-expression and that kind of stuff. And it was so vital for me that I've been saying this stuff that's now commonplace for decades, about people being like, who cares what they think? Just do. Well,
and that's, to me, that's been the basis, like I was saying earlier about what I try to do. Because let's be real here, on a personal level, it sucks to not be yourself.
Yeah.
And it sucks to feel like you can't be yourself in front of any crowd of people. And it's not easy sometimes to feel like you can do that, because there's fears of judgment, fear of not fitting in, fear of being bullied, fear of this, fear of that. And all I can say is this is learning to accept those abnormalities, right? Or whatever those flaws are, and recognize that it is possible that those exact flaws that you're afraid of showing are absolutely the exact flaws that can help connect with other people and bridge kind of that gap. And once you're able to do that, to get to that honesty about yourself, and just that willingness, honestly, to say, excuse my language, to say, fuck it, I'm gonna be myself. I don't care what the repercussions are, because I know that whatever comes down the line from me being honest about myself, about what I want to do, is going to be a better result than if I'm not honest and if I shut my mouth.
Well, it's liberating. It's liberating when you just kind of I'm gonna hold myself accountable,
right?
And how I treat other people. But as far as how other people treat me, I'm gonna command respect,
right?
But I'm also, I'm gonna pick my battles, kind of thing. So that's huge. So I want to take a quick chance to give a shout out to my sponsors. Oregon Cash Flow Pro is my title sponsor, has been from the beginning. James Barber at Oregon Cash Flow Pro is incredible. Check them out at OregonCashFlowPro.com. More wealth, less debt, fast. And then shout out to Subdermal Art Collective, Jake Williams and Jonathan Wade. For all your tattoo needs, check out Subdermal Art Collective in Eugene, Oregon.
Really shout out to all the sponsors. And this is why I want to say that, is because it's really dope to see local businesses supporting local businesses, which is what you are.
Yeah. And
which is what I am.
Jake is one of my Jake is one of my best friends from school.
That's tight, man.
And I mean, politically, we are polar opposites, and he still supports my show, which I think is really something about his character that's awesome. He doesn't pull it when I say something he disagrees with, because he's like, nah, he's doing his thing.
Right.
And I think that's really cool.
Right.
And then I want to give a shout out to Realtor Vince Casey. If you're looking to buy a home in Lane County, contact Vince Casey at Hybrid Real Estate. Vince is going to come on in a couple weeks, and we're going to talk about the market and what it means and what it takes for a first-time home buyer to get into the dream of owning a home. So check out Vince Casey at Hybrid Real Estate. Let's talk about something a little bit more personal. We've kind of touched on it a little bit along the way. You were very public about your journey with recovery. You just hit 17 years of sobriety, and that resonates with so many of your fans. I often read social media comments from people pouring out their personal journey to you. What does it feel like to know that you are so valued as a role model to those who are in recovery?
Man, it's an honor, man, and it's crazy and surreal. You know, the number 17 years, it sounds like so daunting, sounds so crazy. But anybody that's been in recovery would tell you, you know, the years don't matter without the days. You know what I mean? 24 hours a day in one day. And, you know, the phrase one day at a time is tossed around a lot in recovery, obviously. But I feel like in public, you know, there's a lot of like, oh man, is it really that crazy? You know, like one day at a time, every day is so hard for you. No, you know, one day sometimes isn't hard, but sometimes one day is literally
some hours. Yeah. Are
but
hard.
sometimes, yeah, 1 hour is all it takes for me to go out again.
Right.
And flush everything that I've done down the tube. And, but when it comes down to like the connection that my recovery has made with other people through the music, that's something, man, that's something I don't have words for. You know, like I was telling you before the show, you know, there's honestly a lot of DMs and stuff like that I sometimes miss, you know, or maybe I don't get them for a couple days, couple weeks, maybe a month or so or longer, and then all of a sudden I'll get them and be able to respond. And I wish I could respond to more of them, right? But obviously dad mode takes precedence.
Yeah.
And I refuse to be that dad that's constantly on his phone in front of his kids all the time, rather than being actively present, because that's the opposite of what I had. I didn't have that presence, you know what I'm saying, in my life from a male leader. And so being able to do that for him is huge. However, you know, the recovery basis and being able to have that interaction is something that is kind of undescribable, right? But ultimately, I'm not doing anything, and this is no bullshit. I'm not doing anything special when I talk to these people. Like the fact is that I'm doing for them exactly what somebody did for me and still does for me. Right. My sponsors, my counselors, my mentors, my leaders, my peers, my fellow men and women in recovery. Like literally, we keep what we have by passing it on.
Right. And that might be the most rewarding thing. I didn't realize what that would feel like until I've been sober from alcohol for 6 years.
Hey, and come on, man.
I didn't realize because the most fulfilling feeling is when people have reached out to me and be like, what is your secret? And I'm like, well, it's not about a secret. It's like you just said, it's about every minute, every hour, every day, every week, every month, every year, every lifetime, like where you just are 1 minute at a time, you know? And I know that sounds daunting, but it's not. When you don't have to constantly be thinking about it. You just have to be setting daily goals and continuing to grow, you know?
Well, I think, learning to have grace on yourself, you know, to understand like, and me and my son, we talk about it all the time. It's not about the mistake. It's how we learn from it. It's not how we fall. It's how we get up. And that it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to mess up, that there's no right, way to do this life. Everybody has a different way. However, when it comes down to sobriety, being able to use the things that I learn and get taught and pass them down to someone else, like to me, that's the purpose of tools. Like what good would my recovery, my sobriety, and the same thing with my music, I go about it the same way. What good would any of this shit be if I just kept it to myself?
Right.
It wouldn't do any good. It wouldn't, and then I'm being a shell of myself. Then I'm not being transparent. I'm not being honest. I'm not doing those type of things. And I feel like within my fan base, my friends, my family, which are all one and the same, when I post something, maybe about my own mental health or my own struggles or whatever, it's the realization that they're not alone. right? I feel like that's a recognition, but also it's a recognition from my part, right? When I get a message like that, is realizing, man, I'm not alone.
No, exactly.
What
That's what
I'm
I'm saying.
feeling isn't just
It's
a
community.
solo
Yeah.
independent thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's the only way to do it. You know, I've gotten nowhere good by myself. That's a fact.
We got some more comments. We're gonna on Facebook, we got Katie left a comment, said, me and your doppelganger got tickets to go, then got COVID the day before.
Oh man.
Yeah, one day and I'll get hubby to one of Endr's shows.
Yeah.
Shout out to Katie for your comment, and I hope you're feeling better.
For sure.
You know, I mean, it's been a couple weeks, so hopefully you are doing better. Hunter also left a comment on YouTube. Yo, Endr.
Oh, that's my brother.
I'm watching, brother. Love you. Tell Oakland his uncle says hello.
Uncle Hunter says hi, Bubba.
So shout out to Hunter. Country Boy Gas Garage. What's up, Patrick and Endr? Country Boy's Gas Garage has a huge YouTube following. He's restoring a bus that they found in the woods, and it's amazing what he's been up to. So there's just some really cool local stuff going on. So shout out to everybody leaving comments.
Hunter, I love you.
You're always, you know, so appreciated for doing that. So yeah, what's next? What's next for Endr Won?
Man, you know, I keep kind of getting asked that, you know, and that's the thing with music is it's like the plus and the minus is it is a what's next business, you know what I'm saying? And that's the world we live in nowadays, right? Where it's all about what have you done for me lately? Like I dropped an album yesterday, and I'm sure I'll get people today or tomorrow that are like, when are you doing new music?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like when you know, when are you dropping something new? I'm like, I just dropped this, you know what I'm saying? But ultimately, I really try, not just in my music and in my recovery, but what I'm really working on, because the last 6 months and the last 2 years truly took a toll on me. I'm not gonna lie. And I came closer than I probably have ever been to doing some serious damage to myself.
Wow.
If not doing something that would permanently, you know, unfortunately go the wrong way, but also my contemplation of relapse, and I really wasn't doing enough self-care on any level, and I wasn't talking about it. And Hunter, my boy right here, actually, my wife, she snitched me out to my boy Hunter, who tapped in here and said, hey, Endr's not talking to anybody, but he's talking to me, and he's talking reckless sometimes, and I'm hearing some things that aren't good. Can you please hit him up? And I thank God for that, right? That my wife loves me enough to do those type of things. And also that my boy Hunter, who's in recovery as well, had the courage to hit me up and say, what's up, man? Let's link up. And that was about 6 months ago. I got a new sponsor, and some things happened that really have triggered some needs, some real recognition. I started doing jujitsu. I got involved in that. Shout out to Performance Martial Arts, my guys over there. And I've really just tried my best with this album, with physical changes, exercising my spirituality, getting more honest, right? Opening my mouth, not just with the music, but on a personal level. Because to me, that's when I get dangerous, is when I shut down and I don't say anything.
Yeah.
When I don't speak up. I'm an artist. I'm creative. I'm all this shit. And when I'm not doing those things, when I'm not opening my mouth to talk about what's been behind it, then that's when I get dangerous. And that's where I was at. And so right now, it's day by day. I have no agenda. I would love to go on tour in the winter, you know, and I've, you know, I'm kind of feeling that out right now to see how that will happen. But, you know, when you're a stay-at-home dad, that's different too, right?
Sure.
I'm not some of these young bucks, you know, that don't have the families at home and they can just jump on a bus and do whatever, you know. So all my things that I do require a lot of planning with my team. I mean my wife, you know what I'm saying? So
sure.
That's how it goes.
Support, yeah.
Exactly. And so, but that's what I would like to do. But for now, honestly, I'm taking it day by day, enjoying these summer days. My little man's been in camps, and you know, he's getting back in school. So
I was gonna say
we're doing all the back to school
he's
stuff.
About getting back to school now.
First grade. My man's in the first grade. And so I'm just trying to enjoy you know, this moments. A lot of finances went into this project, a lot of different things behind it. And like we talked about before the show popped on, you know, there's a lot of things nowadays with being an artist that unfortunately block our growth. Social media is not as easy as it was in the MySpace days when you can post on the timeline and everybody sees it. Nowadays, you know, my Facebook page has 12,000 plus fans and likes on it, and I might get 12 likes on a post.
Yeah, because it's the algorithms.
Make it make sense to me. It makes no sense to me. And these algorithms are set up, unfortunately, to kind of block us down, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that we're forced to spend more dollars on these big tech companies to advertise. And so for an independent guy like me who doesn't have a huge marketing budget, all I depend on really are my fans, are my friends, my family members, to tap in, listen, to share the music, to enjoy it, connect with it. And I'm a firm believer of this at my core is it'll reach the ears it's supposed to.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
And like, it is. I mean, it is, you know,
it'll do that.
There's been exponential growth since you really, because you were making music back in the day and then took a big hiatus, got back into it. And anybody that really wants to do the deep dive into that can go listen to my first episode. That's what we talked about, right. You know? So I mean, that was 2018, but since then, both of us have grown a lot. 4 years. I joked about it last episode. My buddy's like, "You've grown," and he was talking about. I'm like, "What? I put on some weight. What do you mean?" Like, what?
You're like, "Yeah, I put on some weight."
No, he was talking about, you know, this podcast and whatnot. It's been a treat to be able to share with you, the listeners, and I value your support.
Oh, same.
I would love it if anybody listening would like to donate to the podcast. You can go to the website and there's a donate now button and there's options. There's PayPal, Patreon. For as little as $5 a month, you can become a monthly donor. And then also on Venmo, if you just want to drop a one-time donation. Right. And that helps me get the word out. Like you were talking about, I've done this organically to grow the podcast. I have not paid for advertising, but I'm gonna have to. That's the next step.
We're getting forced to.
Well, and I'm fine with it. If you
haven't yet, you'll be forced.
I'm fine with it because I wanted the reach to be community in grassroots in the beginning, and then as it grew, you know, I want to be able to reach people that may not be aware of. I mean, it started with friends and family. Now it's time to branch out and start reaching a bigger audience.
Well, in advertising in general, it's like I understand that's a need, that's a necessity. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Endr Won LLC. I'm a business. You're a business.
Yes.
However,
SPENTtheRENT LLC.
However, when we're working as the little guys in our, you know, kind of fields or whatever, and you have these big tech companies that are just making it harder and harder for you to reach somebody organically, it's difficult, man. So
it's give and take. I do feel like Facebook Pages has this big update, and I think in a weird way it might actually help reach, but it limits other areas because I mean, like they deleted the videos tab. That's crazy. I mean, I don't want to talk a bunch of trash on Facebook, but
right,
you know, but
next thing you know, your
so
page is
the new
down.
album is called The Last Few Years by Endr Won, ENDRWON. So look that up on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you listen to music. The album is live now, and you've got a bunch of old content. Like I said, I can't really play songs on the stream. The audio listeners will get it in a second, but I want to again mention an old track, Use It. That's my favorite. That's a really, really meaningful track. And then we already talked about it a little bit before. The featured song that I really on this album is This Much, dedicated to your son, Oakland, who's in the back.
Yeah.
Shout out to
Look
Oakland.
out for the video. The video will be here soon.
Yeah, that'll be great.
So, little man's back here drawing and playing on the pad.
He's been amazing during this episode. So hey, Endr Won, thank you so much.
Oh, come on, man.
It's always a treat to have you in the studio. This is the third time, and this is really beautiful. So thank you all for watching. Take care.
Love you guys.